Hello everyone and welcome back to my monthly deals series. It is mid-November, people are maybe interested in buying a new PC sometime soon, and this one's going to be laser focused on GPUs. Graphics cards, those are pretty important for a gaming PC, so I divided everything up into pricing tier lists, which are all laid out and linked in the video description by the way, so let's get started.
Excellent!
Today's video is brought to you by Lexar's NM790 NVMe SSDs, providing lightning-fast storage for the latest generation of gaming and workstation PCs. Featuring a high-bandwidth PCIe Gen 4x4 interface, broad compatibility thanks to the M.2 form factor, and capacities up to 4 terabytes with sequential read speeds up to 7,400 megabytes per second, the NM790 makes no compromises and is conveniently available with or without an integrated heatsink. It's also a perfect pairing for Lexar's stable, reliable, and efficient Thor OC DDR5 memory kits too, so click the sponsor link in the description for more.
A couple quick notes before we dive into the deals. I'm a little sick, a little under the weather, so if you don't want to hear me talking about all the deals, you can find them all linked in the video's description down below. Also, you need more than just a graphics card to build a gaming PC, so if you're interested in my recommendations currently for the rest of the parts, check out my most recent build fix video for the end of October, and I will be doing a new build fix in the next week or so, so get subscribed to my channel if you're not already, so you can see the community posts when that goes live for the next build fix. So let's start off with our first tier for anyone whose graphics card budget is $100 or less. Here, my advice is don't buy a new graphics card. You have two options, in my humble opinion. One is to check out the used market, which can fluctuate a lot, so it's hard for me to say here's exactly what you should buy. The GPUs available on eBay or even more locally in your area, if you're looking at something like Craigslist or Facebook Marketplace, might fluctuate a lot. But if you are on a strict budget and you want to get a discrete graphics card, first I'd say don't get anything with less than 8 gigabytes of VRAM. And then in this price tier, if you're looking at the used market, I'd say on the Nvidia side, you should look for something like a GTX 1080 or GTX 1080 Ti, or on the AMD side, keep an eye out for an RX 570, 580, or 590, or an RX 5700 or 5700 XT. Your other option would be to build a system without a discrete graphics card, and if you're looking to do something like that, check out this build that I did for my sister. This wouldn't be an upgradable build, but I did use an APU in this system, the Ryzen 8700G, which has integrated graphics that are actually decently capable for gaming at 720 or 1080, but you could build a larger system with that APU, and then you could add a discrete graphics card at a later time. Our next tier is for the best gaming GPUs under $200, and here I basically have two options. There's Intel Arc and some of AMD's less expensive 6000 series graphics cards. For anyone who really specifically wants an Nvidia graphics card, I'd say keep your eye on the used market at this price point, or save a little bit more money so you can claw your way up to the $300 tier. So first off, we have the Intel Arc 580. There's a couple different variants of this for about $170 to $180. You're gonna get 8 gigs of VRAM, you get a very nice video encoder along with this graphics card. Intel has come a long way in terms of their driver support as well, so the Arc A580 is totally something that you can get a good deal on. That said, you will get a little bit more raw performance out of AMD's Radeon RX 6600, or I'd actually say go for the 6650 XT. But do note that if you're clicking my Amazon links in the description that are searches, the searches are not always completely accurate on Amazon. And even the sorting, even though I'm telling it to price low to high, it's giving me a $278 card first before it gets down to the actual reasonably priced ones. So here's a Power Color Fighter RX 6600, but it's $175 and it's a refurb. That is why, if you look at the video description, I put little stars next to some of the things. The stars are next to the ones that I think are particularly worth recommending. And rather than spending $170 or $180 on an Arc A580 or an RX 6600 8 gig, take a look at the 6650 XT, which is a decent upgrade from the 6600 non-XT, and has actually come way down in price. There's a Sapphire one available for $210. So yes, I know that doesn't stay within our current price tier of $200, but if you're about to spend $200, $10 more for this card is definitely worth it in my opinion. Stepping up to the $300 and under price tier, my recommendation here is the AMD Radeon RX 6750 XT. These are going for the same price as Nvidia's RTX 4060, but you're going to get a lot more raw rasterization performance, and you're stepping up to a 12 gig VRAM buffer instead of 8 gig. This is another card that has come down in price pretty decently. The best one I found looking at deals today is this Power Color Fighter RX 6750 XT. But I know there's people out there who are like, I want an Nvidia card no matter what, and I respect that because Nvidia does have better ray tracing performance right now. It's also a little bit more plug and play with some other stuff you can do with graphics cards, like running local AI models with Stable Diffusion Fusion on your system, which you get a benefit from having more VRAM for. That's another reason why you might want to go with more VRAM. On the downside for Nvidia though is that they don't often competitively price their graphics cards, so we're not getting a great deal on the 4060. They're going for about $300. There's a few models out there for maybe $295. I'm still just not the biggest fan of the RTX 50. Nvidia didn't really offer us a lot of power or performance for the price that they're asking. So in this tier, if you're willing to wade into the secondary market and the used market, I'd say keep an eye out for an RTX 3070. And just taking a quick glance at eBay, there do appear to be buy it now 4070s for around $250 to $300. And with that, we move on to the next tier, best gaming GPUs under $500. I know I skipped the $400 price, but there's such a trifecta of really powerful gaming graphics cards from AMD, specifically in the $430 to $530 range, that I decided to go straight to $500, so we can take a look at that. The RX 6800 XT from AMD is going for as little as $430 right now. That's for a 16 gig graphics card that has way more raw rasterization performance than anything Nvidia offers at this price range. Or for about $30 to $40 more, you can step up to the 7800 XT. This has similar performance to the 6800 XT depending on the games that are being tested. There's one for $460, although that is a refurb. Or for just $10 more, we again have ASRock Challenger. ASRock is being pretty aggressive with the pricing for their ASRock Challenger cards, which is fine. They're perfectly functional GPUs. The third part of this trifecta is the Radeon RX 7900 GRE, which is going for as little as $530 right now. This is another graphics card that the price has dropped down on to a point where you're getting a lot of performance and you're getting a 16 gig VRAM buffer for just over $500. And it really makes the Nvidia cards in this range look pretty bad, like the 4060 Ti, which is an 8 gig graphics card right now. These were going for $400, but you can find them for as little as about $380. That's another refurb. Keep an eye out for refurbs. Refurbs, you know, they can work just fine, but if it's just a few bucks more for an actual new one, I would go with that. Also, if you're shopping on Amazon, look for who is actually selling the product. It will say shipped from and sold by. Sometimes you'll see GPUs for really, really low prices, but it's being shipped from and sold by some shady seller. And if you try to buy with those sellers, they're just going to cancel your order and you're just going to be disappointed. If the price seems too good to be true, especially from an Amazon marketplace seller, it is. With that said, if I was doing a $400 and under price tier, the 4060 Ti would definitely be on that list. I just have a harder time giving it a little star when you can spend about $50 more to get yourself a 6800 XT, which is such a big bump up in performance, as well as your VRAM allocation. The step up from the 4060 Ti on the Nvidia side is the RTX 4070, which is currently going for around $500. Let's see if I can actually find a $500 one on here. I found the Zotac Twin Edge OC over on Newegg. This is, if you need Nvidia and you're spending $500, this is the card to get. It's not like a screaming deal or anything like that, but it is one of the more balanced Nvidia graphics cards in terms of the MSRP and the performance that you get out of it. But if you're really focused on getting an Nvidia graphics card, then this is the first one on my list that I'm giving a star because I think it's reasonable in terms of the price and the performance. But again, I will offer you an alternative, which is to check the used market for RTX 3080s, 10 gig or 12 gig versions of this card. We have to scroll past the 4 parts and erroneous listings to get to actual legit ones, about $350 to $400, maybe as little as $300 for a used 3080. Your mileage may vary, but if you can find one, an RTX 3080 is a great deal for an Nvidia card in this range. And yes, it will handily outperform the RTX 4070. Moving to our second to last tier, best gaming GPUs under $800. Here again, AMD has the best bang for the buck with the RX 7900 XT and 7900 XTX. 7900 XTs going for $650 these days. That's a nice deal. And in fact, you can get this ASRock Phantom Gaming model for $640 with this promo code over on Newegg. And I have put individual links to some of the specific deals I've found in the description alongside those general links to each GPU. Oh yeah, and you get another bump up in VRAM here since it's 20 gigs up from 16. And then $200 more, which I guess does again sort of break our $800 limit. We have the 7900 XTX. This is just the best card that AMD currently makes, so that's why I'm including it here. And again, these are going for about $850 these days, which is down from their original $1,000 MSRP. And once again, ASRock has a promo code for their Phantom Gaming that brings it down to $840, which was the cheapest 7900 XTX that I found. The second Nvidia graphics card to get a star on my list is the RTX 4070 Super, which again, when it launched, had a much more reasonable price to performance than some of the other Nvidia cards, which can often charge a lot more for the performance that you get. So even though the price hasn't really come down from the $600 MSRP on these cards, the cheapest you will find them for is about $590. And also note Amazon listings and search not working really well. We have 4070 non-supers in here. Depending on how you sort it, you might have TIs and supers, and really the Nvidia naming scheme gets a little muddied in this area. But here you go, an MSI RTX 4070 Super 12G for $590. That's the best 4070 Super deal I was able to find. But if you're looking at this card, also look at the 7900 GRE and 7900 XT, because those are the nearest competitors from AMD. Beyond that, on the Nvidia side, there is the 4070 Ti. Those are a little bit harder to find these days, and there are not quite as many deals on them. So I would try to get up to a 4070 Ti Super, which currently goes for about $800. And again, the cheapest one of those I was able to find was over on Newegg, which is $800 with a $20 promo code, bringing it down to $780. And here at last on the Nvidia side, we are now up to 16 gigs of VRAM as well. And that brings us to our final tier, $1,000 plus, where there are only two cards that fit the category, the RTX 4080 Super from Nvidia and the RTX 4090 from Nvidia, which is the best gaming graphics card right now. Again, because there's not a lot of competition, there's not a lot of great deals in this price range. The 4080 Super had a $1,000 MSRP, and the cheapest one you can find right now is $10 off at $990. You can get the 7900 XTX, which is $150 cheaper and has roughly equivalent rasterization performance to the 4080 Super. According to Tech Power Up, it's within 1% or so. Of course, the AMD card isn't going to perform as well in ray trace titles, but it is $150 cheaper. And finally, the best gaming graphics card right now, the RTX 4090. It's been the best for the past couple years, and the price has gone up. MSRP was $1,600. More recently, it was available for $1,800. According to rumors, Nvidia has already ceased production of these cards, which is probably part of the reason why the prices have gone up. The competitor to the 4090 is not out yet. We have the RTX 5090 and RTX 5080, as well as maybe an RTX 5070 that could be announced at CES in January and launch shortly thereafter. So if you're thinking about a 4090 but you're not quite there yet, it might be worth your while to wait a month or two for the 5090 to launch, or at least be announced, get an idea of what the price for that is going to be. But I would not expect the 4090 price to go down at all, because Nvidia just hasn't been allowing that to happen with the past few generations that they've launched. And that pretty much wraps it up for my GPU pricing and recommendation list for November 2024. Once again, all those links are down in the video's description below, so check that out. Also, while you're down there, you can find a link to my store at paulshardware.net, where you can help support my channel by buying yourself some awesome merch. We have some new beanies that just came in stock, as well as shirts, mugs, pint glasses, my awesome new desk mats, and more. If you enjoyed this video and it helped you out, hit the thumbs up button on your way out. That will help me out. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you all in the next video.